Oh my goodness. Greetings, everyone. Hi. Welcome to Chant Day. How is everyone today? Thanks for joining Chant Day. I'm starting early today because I have, a list of things I have to get done. I'm not even, I don't even have my wrap on or anything like that. And I'm just trying to get myself together. It's a lot going on. And I love that the word today is the word today. Wait. The word, let's see. Okay. The word today just resonated with me because I put this out there the other day, and it's like what you put out, you get back, and I put that out there. I said, I belong, I belong. And in terms of I belong, and I'm part of the goodness, of God. So I belong to that. And even though I may be or may have been rejected or dismissed or betrayed or something negative, I still belong to something that's greater than that, that's greater than anything on this earth, because everything is temporary that's here. And because of that, we have to live, now. We have to be in that righteous space, that compassionate space, that, kind space, that loving space, that space that, is forgiving. That's for forgiving space, that space that is kind and long suffering. We may be in a space where we have to, endure, some hardships, but we know that we're doing the right thing. We are, at least trying to do the right thing and being, in that space of righteousness, giving goodness and mercy and love and, giving a sense of, doing to others as you would like done to you type of, mentality and having that. So with that being said, I'm starting early. It's like it's 5 a.m. I was up from, I think it was 3 something, and I couldn't sleep because I just was in a space of reflecting and in a space of uh, meditation. I meditate now when I get up as I'm rising from my sleep. you know I'm in a meditative state, so I'm awake but yet I'm laying up in a sleep state. So with that being said, and with that that space, um I took some time within that to reflect, and in that reflection uh I realized that I belong, and I belong to something greater, and I can't make anyone see that they too belong to something greater. It's similar to, Harriet Tubman, when, she tried to free folks and to let them know, look, you can be free to make your own decision. You can be free to start your own business. You can be free, you can do these things. And um some didn't want that. And as I said, you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. They have to be the one to want that for themselves. You may want it for someone, but they have to want it for themselves. And I have given people opportunities, like, okay, I invite you to come and have an opportunity. And folks said no. Some, my son, I asked him, I said, do you want to come and, have this opportunity? He said yes. And now he's, here. Mm. But anyway, we're going to make it, work. But I give folks that opportunity. And some folks don't want to take that opportunity. I do a summer workshop in the summertime. And in the summertime, when I do this workshop, I invited, my loved ones and, folks to come and help me. And nobody, the first couple of them, no one wanted to help. I did it on my own with the help of the community, really. And my parents, my mom and my dad, giving me a place to work. And that is a feeling of gratefulness. So it encouraged me, and it helped me along my way not to be discouraged, right? Not to be feeling like I don't belong because people rejected me, and did not, um, think about what I'm doing and to be part of it, right? So, with that being said, the word today is satisfied, satisfied, satisfied. And that word today, satisfied, really resonated with me, because it really gave me really a sense of that I belong, that I'm okay, and I'm enough, right? I am enough. I'm enough for myself. I'm enough for, whoever else, wants to be in my space. And I'm going to be real and authentic about who I am and the spaces that I occupy. And I'm intentional about where I go and the spaces that I occupy. So you may or may not see me. And when you do see me, it's a bless. You've been blessed. I've been blessed with your presence. You've been blessed with mine. where two or more are gathered in the, name of righteousness. That's what the psalm is today, by the way. In the name of righteousness, um, we have to trust in that, and trusting in that allows for growth. When you trust in good things, trust in the goodness, staying positive, um, the outcome is positive because you have nourished that positivity in your life. you know Oftentimes, and I have found, oftentimes I've been in relationships where I want to help people, and it becomes, too much, and it's overwhelming, because I'm not, or equipped to that capacity. um, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist. I'm a certified family life educator, meaning that I educate. I'm an educator. I'm not a physician or clinician, you know. So, I have to err on the side of those professions because, I'm not skilled in that. And I find that oftentimes people are troubled, or they are suffering from a childhood trauma of sorts that has uh, handicapped them in their relationships. They're not able to be, authentic in their relationship, or loyal, or long suffering, or, just being in their relationship. They're not able to do that. So oftentimes we find that we need that professional, help, basically. We need that. And in needing that, we have an opportunity to talk about how we feel, and what we feel, and what's making us feel what we feel. And we don't get to do that. That's emotional. That's the emotional slice of the pies. And with my pies app, it's a slice where we find the need to hide. We're hiding, these emotions, and they come out and in certain behaviors that may not be good for ourselves or for other people, because we're hiding these emotions. We have to learn how, from childhood, how to talk about these emotions. And we don't teach children that. They don't know, okay, how do this, there's a name for that feeling. There's a name for you feeling this way. It's called you're bored. And it's okay. There's a name for these feelings. It's called frustrated, or you're, angry, or you're, joyful or happy. So these feelings are learned, and their names are learned, and we learn what makes us feel this way from childhood. And when we don't get to learn about that in childhood, it becomes, or we've been, violated in, childhood, or something has happened in childhood that has um, made us want to hide emotions, because that's where that comes from. You're hiding emotions from childhood based on what has happened in childhood, and you've been taught to not talk about it. You've been taught to, that's a family thing. You don't talk about Uncle Joe or whatever, whoever did whatever, you don't talk about that. So we learn not to talk about our feelings. And then we end up in relationships and then we don't know how to talk about what we're feeling. And we end up doing things that we may not mean to do, but we do. So when we look at the Psalm today, trusting in the name of righteousness, trusting in righteousness, period, trusting in the goodness and the mercy and the love, and, trusting in that, trusting in that is the beginning of growth, is the beginning of that relationship I've been talking about having with the Most High, with righteousness, with love, with kindness, with compassion. That's my bedmate. That's who I sleep with, is goodness and righteousness. That's who I seek after every day. So I trust in that all is well, all is going to be well. I may be struggling here or struggling there, or this may be happening, or I have this challenge, I have that proposal I have to finish, or I have this to, how I have to trust in that righteousness, or it would be chaos. It would be complete chaos, and that's how people go astray in their mind. They go astray in their life. They go astray mentally, and they go astray, in their relationships, because the trust in that righteousness is not there. And when we trust in that righteousness, we're able to trust other people. And that's when that trust in other people is broken. That's when the hurt happens, and it's interesting because Jesus experienced those things. So when I talk about me experiencing betrayal or experiencing a hurt of some sort, whether it's grief or, whatever, I know that one experienced that and was betrayed and felt that, experienced that pain and suffering. So we have an advocate, in other words. We have this advocate that went before us. We have ancestors that went before us that, gave of themselves so that we could be able to vote, or we could be able to, participate in, business, participate in home ownership, participate in, the ability to retire in a good, place where we're not living from paycheck to paycheck. Like my son says, I'm living from paycheck to paycheck. I'm like, I am? Why are you in my pockets? Like, get out of there. But so we have to be aware that trusting in something higher. Thank you so much for tuning in, by the way, and liking this video. I would love you to do that. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself. But we see that trust in, that goodness, there's an outcome, there's a result. What happens when we trust, we're going to be, okay. We're going to be okay. Because as the first verse in Psalm 20, the first verse, and I ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of what is righteousness, what is, goodness that we're talking about here. That's that higher omnipotent presence that we don't see, but we know that love is there, that we belong to that. And when people reject us, it's okay, because they rejected the one that was and is to be, and that is our advocate, that we have. We have to commune with that. We have to, go and talk and commune with that goodness and that mercy. So in the Psalm 20, we're in 20 minutes now in, and 2 people seem to be on here. Thank you so much. Like this video when you get a chance. And if you don't like it, remember what I said, keep it to yourself. the first word in this is may. May. Oh, what is that in my tea? May. And that is my grandmother named me, actually my paternal grandmother, my dad's mom. And my dad's mom named me, and the middle name she gave me is May, M-A-E, May. And this Psalm 20 has may, 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 may. 6 times, 7 times. 7 times may is, and then the final 4 verses don't have may. It talks about, from verse 6 to 9. So this Psalm 20, I'm feeling some goodness about this. I mean, all the Psalms are good, but this one is emanating to me some really positivity that speaks to, trust and what that means, what trust means, and when that trust is broken, what happens, right? So, trusting in the name of righteousness, that's what it speaks of. That's the title of the Psalm 20s, trusting in the name of righteousness, trusting in the name of the Lord our God. So I define our Lord our God as righteousness, goodness, mercy and love. And so we know what we're working with, what it is that means, because some people shy away from, those names, Lord, God, Jesus, Jehovah, Karamawe, Haile, Selassie. Selassie means the power of the Trinity. It's an Amharic word. It's not even an English word. But anyway, even the word Selah, you see Selah in the Psalms a lot as, amen. So we have to embrace other perspectives. In other words, we cannot limit our growth to what we learned in childhood, right? We learn certain things in childhood. I learned certain things, and some things as an adult now, as someone who likes to read and find things out, I'm like, oh, let me read this book. I see the value in different perspectives, okay, and being able to listen to others. I ask my students how did they come to their core beliefs when it comes to children? Where did they get their core beliefs from? And one of them said, from their grandmother, very stern Catholic. And, they have certain beliefs and certain things that they believe. And maybe people in the world may not be living in the way they believe. Like I said on my channel a couple of days ago on my Chant that I was discriminated against because of my identity and who I lay down with. Yeah, and this was in the island. Anyway, so, and it was by someone who, looks at the Lord our God, calls that. However, what is the operational definition of that? How does that operate? Does that operate in a discriminatory way? No. how can God and Lord discriminate? That's, that's evidentiary in the stories of the Bible. The only discrimination is good over evil. Wrong is going to be conquered by right, right? Righteousness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. So, and you're free. You're free to live. We are chained by the system, basically. The system has gripped us so tightly that some people are, homeless. And, some people are, in dire situations. Like my son said, living from paycheck to paycheck. I'm blessed that I could be able to be free to use money and not have money use me. You know what I mean? I could use the money and not have it use me. And that's what sometimes happens. But this psalm, as I said, may is in there 7 times. So may righteousness answer you in the day of trouble. So you want righteousness to answer you in that time that you're in that may be troublesome. You may be, in an abusive relationship. Some people, this is real. You may be in, a job where you're being overlooked. You're being rejected. You may be in a job like that. You may be within a family who doesn't understand you, or whatever the case may be. You may be in different places in your life where you're in some trouble. What is going to answer you is righteousness. Turn to that. Turn to that. And it begins with that self. It begins with the I. It begins with you. And it begins because it says, answer you in the day of trouble. So it begins with you. You have to be the one to trust in that righteousness that's within you, right? Don't wait for somebody else to do the right thing. You be the one to do it. You be the one to stand up and do the right thing, So verse 1, may the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. So may righteousness answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. Okay, that's powerful, because who is this God of Jacob? Look up the story of Jacob and see what and who Jacob was serving. Is the same one today that was yesterday, that's today, that's going to be, it is, right? That one. So that one, that God of Jacob, is that righteousness, that ultimate goodness. And that is what is being offered. May that protect you. May that answer you. In verse 2, may that send strength from the sanctuary to you. And it's becoming specific now. So it starts off at, you're going to get that righteousness is going to answer you in trouble. That name of righteousness, that name is going to protect you. That name, that God of Jacob, that same one is going to send you strength from now where? From this place, this sanctuary. This sacred place that's clean and it's not, defiled with, stuff of the world. And you will be given support from Zion. And what is defined as Zion is from that happy place, that place of happiness and, tranquility, and where it's a harmonic pattern flowing through. That is what that place represents and how it's defined. And your offerings now are going to be remembered because you remembered this place. You are listening to that righteousness answering you in the day of trouble, so you know what to do. Okay. I give myself as an example. In the day of my trouble, in the day when my dad passed away, and it was troubling for me because I'm trying to wake him up. Daddy, wake up, wake up. And he's not, his eyes open, he's not. And it was troubling for me. And I ran down the street to look for the ambulance because they said they're coming, they're on their way. And they weren't there. I ran to look for them. And all I'm hearing is, he's already gone. He's safe. He's free. And he's in the bosom of Abraham. And this was what I heard. This is the answer that I got. And in that moment of trouble, righteousness comforted me. And that's what I heard. So the name of the God of Jacob protected me. Okay, I could have ran down there and passed out, right? Out of breath. All kinds of stuff could have happened in me running down to meet the ambulance. So I look at the Psalm today in relation to that part of my life, because I was sent strength from the sanctuary, from a place that I'm like, where am I hearing this from? You're right. But I know it was from that place that righteousness answered me from that place, that sanctuary, and gave me support from that place, Zion, exclamation mark, and remembered all my offerings. All the offerings of, okay, I'm going to hold the door for you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this. And I'm giving generously, giving here, giving. I'm just giving. These are offerings. When you give of your kindness from your heart, it's an offering. And that is remembered and regarded with favor, especially the burnt offerings, the burnt sacrifices, Selah. That's how that verse 3 ends. So in verse 4, it's may again. May you be granted your heart's desire, and all your plans are fulfilled. So after all this trouble and all this, so I said, hotter the battle, sweeter the victory. Okay. My son and I was in a battle. We were it was battling. And I said, you know what? I'm going to err on the side of righteousness. That's what's going to now the victory is sweet, sweeter the victory. So in this Psalm 20, verse 1 to 3 is about what is the first verse is trouble. Then we go into you're being protected from this place. Your offerings of your goodness that you give is going to be remembered. All the people you've helped in your life, who you have given to, okay? it's going to be regarded with favor. Your burnt sacrifices. So you're going to be granted your heart's desire based on all the above, and your plans are fulfilled. Your plans are going to be fulfilled. And verse 5, there is this time you're going to shout for joy over your future, seeing that. That's why the car I've gotten so many cars for people, right? Not one for myself. I just paid off my Jeep. I'm glad about that. I have a Jeep when I go to the island, and it's paid off. But I didn't think I could get a vehicle of my own again. And that's why you don't go by your own understanding, because there's a higher understanding that has for you what is for you. And not even the river can take it away. So what's yours may take some time, but guess what? May righteousness grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans, ! And may that righteousness shout for joy over your future. So that righteousness is over your future. It's going to be over your future. That's what salvation means. It's going to be over your future. And in the name of our God, set up our banners. Okay? Set up our banners. And may the Lord fulfill all your petitions. Right? May that righteousness fulfill all that petitions. So you have everything that you've petitioned for is fulfilled. I just told my son I was up nights writing my proposal to Google for my app. And I was up, nights doing this and not thinking of the outcome, but just thinking of the process. Like, even though I may not be picked or chosen, I know, this is a learning process, and I always do that when I'm writing a grant or writing something, right? So within that space, I see clearly. I'm able to see clearly. So, and in verse 6, it starts with now I know. Now I know. There's a song, one of the Marleys sings, Now I Know. Isn't it? I think it's Stephen Marley that sings it. Yeah, Now I Know. And this, when I look at this psalm, shout out to Stephen Marley. The song is called Now I Know. And in this psalm, verse 6 starts off with Now I Know. And it's like, what? And this song, Now I Know, is powerful by Stephen Marley. The lyrics are, now I know, but now I know, now I know. And he says, you give more, you're receiving less. So remember I said just now I talked about you give and you give and you give, you're generously, giving and giving. And your offering, these are your offerings. So this is what Stephen Marley, shout out to Stephen Marley. I'm gonna meet y'all. So anyway, he says, you give more and receive less. This is what has happened to me. I gave and gave, and people think I have it all, so I don't need anything, but I need just the same. So he says, I guess some things never change because here I am alone again. I find that rather strange. And this is me again. I'm alone again, you know. Um, and he says, think of the things we used to do, but I guess that's only me and all the stages we've been through, but it wasn't meant to be. I might say I could have my dreams, at least if nothing else. And mama never raised no fool. I can feel things for myself. You can feel when somebody is not there. What used to be unbreakable, right? You thought your relationship was nothing could break it. What used to be unbreakable, I thought this bond would never break. But nothing's permanent in life, all except for change. So he talks about this, and that's the song. I mean, it repeats, you know, certain things. But that's the basics of the song. And I always talk about this in my chant to Psalm, that things are not permanent. Nothing is permanent in life. The only thing that's permanent is change. Remember, I said we are dying every day. Our bodies are deteriorating every day. That's why we try to eat, and we, you know, our minds as humans are about surviving and keeping ourselves alive. That's our, because of the fact that our bodies are deteriorating every day. So when somebody passes away, you know, it's a lot of times they've been sick and this has happened, but there's a lot of freak accidents happening that has been taking place that I've been seeing on the news with people passing away at their jobs, or they've fallen over, you know, a balcony of some sorts or something, or they've, you know, it's just really something that's been happening a lot in our, you know, world. But when we look at this, now I know, I had to go to Stephen Marley's song, Now I Know. But now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. Okay, with all this stuff going on in verses 1 to 5, this Psalm of David, David is like, now I know. You know, you remember David slew Goliath. You know, Goliath was a giant, was a big, you know, giant, and David was a tiny little shepherd boy. So these are stories that give us that evidence of the power of doing the right thing, of serving that is righteousness, you know. So we look at, you know, this verse of now I know that the Most High saves his anointed. Stephen Marley in this song, now he knows that his relationship is over. It wasn't meant to be. He knows that. Even though they've been through stages, they've been through this, they've been through that. And he said, you know, he's talking about giving more and he's receiving less. And that's been something that's been happening. Some things never change, you know. And he's looked like, here I am alone again. So now he knows. Now he, you know, knowledge is power. When you know, you're empowered to make a change, right? You are empowered to make a change. And that's the only thing that seems to be permanent in life. Nothing else is. We're not permanent, right? What is permanent is, you know, change is happening. And we have to accept the change that's happening. Accepting is important. Being able to accept yourself, first of all, and knowing that you belong is the first step, right? So in the psalm today, we see how that is important. And being saved, the anointed being saved, some people have forgotten that they're anointed. They've forgotten who they are, basically. And it's like, it's as if righteousness, that Most High has hardened, their hearts to forget. So when we struggle with someone to get them to see something, we have to just speak it, be it, and leave it. That's it. We have to speak it, we have to be it, and we have to leave it. We cannot make somebody do anything. So I ask for forgiveness for, wanting somebody to make a change and to do something. Like, you do this or I'm gonna, I don't want to, no, I cannot make you do something, hold something on you for you to do something. You're where you are, and that's where you want to be, or you wouldn't be there. So now I know. And now I know that the Lord saves his anointed, and I know that I am anointed because I was saved throughout this trouble that is talked about in the psalm from the beginning, that I'm going to be answered in the day of my trouble. So I know that I am one of the anointed ones. And it's not to be boastful about it or, toot my own horn about it. But I know that within me, that is what I am here to be about. And I know that from my life's experiences and what I've been through in my life. So, and that answer that we're talking about in verse 1, may the Lord answer in the day of trouble, in verse 6, that answer is from that sacred place. That's where that comes from. That answer is coming from a sacred, it talks about it here, holy heaven. It's coming from that place. With the saving might of righteousness, that goodness, that mercy, that love. And that answer came for me when I heard that, when I was in that time of trouble, when my dad passed away. And that saving might of righteousness actually took me up. I don't know how I ran back up that hill. I don't know how I got, but I don't know what that's what it was. And that is what saves. That is what will save the anointed. And the anointed is that one that is receiving the righteousness, or from that, and the ability to return it and give it. Giving, as Stephen Marley says, you give more, but sometimes people don't give you back what you give. They give you less. So we have to have that knowledge and of that advocate, that we're going to be saved, and we are the anointed, and we're going to be saved because of what we don't see. That one, that omnipotent one, is saving us. And we find oftentimes in verse 7 some trust in chariots and some in horses. So in verse 7, that's what we see happening. Some are trusting in chariots and some in horses. And though that's what they trusted in during that time, right? Today they're trusting in, their cars and houses instead of horses, houses and cars. So the trust in these things, we see when the hurricanes come, what happens to the houses and the cars. They're obliterated, right? So we should not put our trust in that. We have them and that's it. We're not, putting our trust in it to the point of, worshiping it, Respect, hush, Baba. Hold on. What are you doing? I'm on the sound today. Where are you at? Stop it. Yeah, he loves other dogs. He loves other dogs. So he hears one out there. He goes to tell them, I'm in here. Come play with me. And I told him, stop telling people that you're in here. You're giving yourself away. They know you're in here now because you're telling them with your barking. But anyway, so we don't trust in these things. You see what happens? We trust in the name of righteousness, in the name of the Most High, in the name of goodness and mercy. That's what we trust in. Because these things are going to collapse. Houses, cars, they're going to collapse. They're going to fall. They, repoed and towed away and, all this stuff. I don't wish that on no one now. But, these things, happen when you trust in those things. But we have to trust in the name of righteousness. That's what we trust in. And when we trust in the name of righteousness, we're going to be okay. That stuff is going to collapse and fall, but we're going to rise and stand upright. We're going to be okay. So, let me close this door. It's cold. It's cold outside there. So we're going to be all right. The anointed, in other words. And I know that now I know righteousness saves the anointed, saves his anointed, her anointed. Right? And the final verse in this psalm is, O righteousness, save the king. And may righteousness answer when we call. But you have to be in about that. You have to be about righteousness. Righteousness is going to answer you when you call on that, when you live in that, when you talk in that, when you walk in that, when you are about that, when you're, when you're kind to, people that, society has somehow disowned and marginalized and put away, and sometimes, we are not willing because we have our own lives and we feel we have to, charity begins at home, and it does. It begins at home within yourself, so you're able to give to others. So, like this video, we are at the end of the Psalm today, Psalm 20. And I wanted to share the word today because the word today is satisfied. Satisfied. And that word today, satisfied, is brought to you today by Psalm 84, verse 12. And it says, I am enough just as I am. Isn't that interesting that that's the word today, satisfied? And it says, living contentedly and in full acceptance of my life is satisfaction. What did I just say? Accepting who you are. People may not accept you. Okay? People don't accept me. I've had people tell me, I don't want to be on your team. You're too hard and you're too, you want things a certain way. And it's like, yeah, that's how I'm going to get results, when things are in order in a certain way. And when you don't want that, you are going to invite confusion and chaos into your life. And I don't want confusion and chaos. I want to retire in an abundance of goodness, where I'm enjoying the rest of my time on the earth, and being a light and a kindness to other people, basically, and not just for myself. But I do want to be able to not have to, like my son said, live from paycheck to paycheck, but to be able to thrive and help others thrive. Not just for myself to thrive, but I want to see others thrive. So I feel, okay, I'm existing not just for myself, but that person is benefiting from me being alive and being able to, be there. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. Actually, you can subscribe and you get announcements of when I'm live. And actually for liking this video, that helps as well. So the word today is satisfied, and I am enough just as I am. Okay. This sweet feeling is one of inner and outer harmony with myself and the world around me. So I talk about this harmonic pattern. This is what we're speaking of today again. There's this harmonic pattern, and this, this satisfaction is contentment. You're living contented. I don't even like the word contented, but you're living in a satisfaction, basically. You're satisfied with yourself. You have a harmony. There's a harmony with who you are and who the world is around you. So the world may be what the world is. Like I said, I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. But I am in harmony with myself and the world around me, even though I'm not of that world. You see what I'm talking about? Like, I'm not going to go blow the world up because it's evil. I'm going to be in harmony with myself. That's righteousness, to do the right thing, even in a world that is corrupt. Right? So throughout my life, there may be more to learn and many ways to improve myself. I am always growing. And that's what I keep telling y'all. Our bodies may be dying every day, but our minds need to be growing. We need to be growing our minds. We need to be planting seeds in good soil. So this inner harmony And outer harmony is what you need with yourself in order to have that satisfaction. So I am always growing. When I am satisfied, I am patient with myself as I change and compassionate with myself when I stumble or fall. Look at that. Patience, compassion. That's another word for the Most High, is patience and compassion. And serenity is another word for peace, serenity. So peace and patience, serenity, compassion, these are representative and operational definitions of God. So feeling satisfied with myself is my comfort and shield, protecting me from life's inevitable ups and downs. I keep moments of defeat and disappointment in perspective. They may happen to me, but they do not reflect the truth of who I am. So you keep these disappointments in perspective. I have to stand up to this one. You keep these disappointments in perspective. They may happen to you, but they do not reflect the truth of who you are. So people could betray you. People may leave you and not tell you. You may find out you've been deleted. You may find out different ways and not from them. They may say, oh, you beat me to it. I was going to tell you. Hi, Chawa. Blessed rise to you. I'm early today. Thank you so much for joining Chant Day. Good morning. Thank you for liking this video, for this channel, Thank you for subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Okay? I'm up early. I was up at 3 something. Now it's 5:55. Right now at this moment is 555. 555. Whenever you see that, that's an angelic number. When you're up this early, you're in that mist of massive gratitude, like El Su talks about. But yeah, we're here and we're giving thanks. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you so much. So we're at the word of the day. We're at an hour, as you can tell. I was up early. But the word today is satisfaction or satisfied. Satisfied. So we want to put defeat and disappointment in perspective. We want to put it in perspective. We don't want to sleep in those spaces, that you're going to stay, you may be in that space for a minute or two, and you may want to be in that space. I had to be in that space of disappointment. I was disappointed in, somebody, hurt. I was disappointed that they would do that. But I had to put it in perspective, right? I had to put it in perspective. And these things may happen to me, but they don't reflect the truth of who I am. Okay? So if you're going through a divorce, for example, and your husband cheated, that's not a reflection of who you are. That may happen. That may have happened to you, but it's not reflecting the truth of who you are. I had a colleague who this happened to. Her husband, left her for a younger woman, I think his secretary or something. This happened. It sounds like a movie, right? But that happened to her, and she seemed to have held that, stayed in that space, because you could tell how she looked. She just looked deteriorated and defeated. So when you stay in that defeat and that disappointment, you're going to look, you're going to age fast, I'm telling you. So you got to put it in perspective. So with me, I had to put it in perspective. Someone, left me for someone else. They didn't tell me. They said to me, and my son says, stop talking about it, but I use it as an example, right? I felt this because, when you're anointed, you feel things. And I felt this. I said, are you seeing someone else? And this is in a text message. They couldn't call me. In a text message, and they said, no, I'm not seeing someone else, but I did meet someone. And it's like, okay. So this was going on right before my dad passed away. And that hit me, and it just, oh my goodness. And I didn't put it in perspective. I was, what is happening? But though that moment, now I'm looking at it, we have to put it in perspective. So when things happen to you, and I'm using my life as an example now, I'm not talking down to about anybody, okay? This is a past relationship that was in the past, and it's staying there. Like, lock it, it's there. I'm not pulling it out for anything. But anyway, that moment, I now have put into perspective. It is what it is, but it does not reflect the truth of who I am. I am beautiful, I'm loved, I'm kind, I'm favored, I'm honest, I'm loyal, I'm harmonic, I'm looking for that harmonic pattern. I have a relationship with the Most High. Who wouldn't want someone like me? My son, he said, nobody wants you. That's why you're gonna, I was like, what? I said, let me tell you something. I belong. I'm enough just as I am. People may defeat me, disappoint me, but I'm putting it in perspective. And this word today is so powerful because it's exactly what I needed today. So it ends with, my awareness of the Christ within is my greatest satisfaction now and forever. Just as I just said, my relationship with the Most High is the greatest satisfaction that I have and that I'm thankful to have. That is what satisfies me. So when you're satisfied with that and we come together and we make love, we both satisfied. That's how it's supposed to be. So but when you don't have that awareness of Christ within you, you're seeking outside, like, I got to go to church. I need some church. I got to go. You're looking outside and not within you. You're going to always be chasing after something to satisfy you, whether it's alcohol, whether it's sex, whether it's whatever it is, drugs, whatever it is. My hot tea is cold. It's cold now. So it's got to be poured back in here. And I got to go get some more. Heat it up more. So I'm using this hot tea to represent, over time, you see how it got cold because I wasn't drinking it. I wasn't tending to it. It got cold. And this is what happens. But when you have that awareness of that Christ within you, that's the greatest satisfaction. And until you find that, you're going to be chasing things. And when things get cold, you're not going to want it. When things get cold, you're not going to want it. And cold meaning you may be alone for some season. And, sometimes this is what happens. When a man's wife is pregnant, he goes and cheats on her. This sometimes happens, he's running after that satisfaction and not that awareness of the Christ within him. That's his greatest satisfaction. So this word today is brought to us today by Psalm 84 verse 12. Thank you so much for liking this video, by the way. If you haven't liked it yet, please like it. If you don't like it, just keep it to yourself. But The word today, satisfied, is brought to us today by Psalm 84, verse 12. And Psalm 84, verse 12 says, O Lord of hosts, happy is everyone who trusts in you. Yeah. Happy is everyone that trusts in you. So when you find yourself unhappy, when you find yourself alone and you're unhappy, guess what? You're not trusting in this righteousness. You're not trusting in this Lord of hosts. You don't know who this Lord of hosts is. You need to go and seek that. Because when you don't, you end up trusting in other people, from my experience, and you get disappointed and you feel defeated. Just like the word says here, I keep moments of defeat and disappointment in perspective. So we have to, happiness comes from that. Happiness comes from that. That is the creator of all goodness and mercy and love and happiness. So happiness comes from that Lord of hosts. O Lord of hosts, happy is everyone who trusts in you, according to Psalm 84, verse 12. I didn't write it. I didn't write it. Okay. I didn't write it. I didn't have nothing to do with the word today. Satisfied is from dailyword.com, published by Unity Publishers, and it's brought to us by Psalm 84, verse 12. So I am just reading that. And the verse of the day is also coming from Psalms 25, verse 14 to 15. So the verse today is coming from the Psalm as well. So we have Psalm 20 that I read today, Psalm 84, verse 12, that's sponsoring the word satisfied. And then we have the verse today coming from Psalm 25, verse 14 to 15, that speaks, the Lord confides in those who fear him. What does that mean? That righteousness is going to be with the one that is afraid of doing the wrong thing, is afraid of that righteousness, like a child afraid of their parent doing the wrong thing, yeah. So that righteousness is going to confide, meaning that righteousness is going to be inside talking to you because you want to do the right thing. You don't want to embrace the wrongness of this world and go after flesh. You don't want to do that. And people want to do that, and when the flesh is no longer able, or the flesh is not able to do the things that it used to do, what are you going to do? You leave a person? People do that. That's why people have affairs. It's called affairs and entanglements. So righteousness is going to confide in those that fear righteousness. And righteousness makes a covenant known to those that are righteous. Not to everyone now. Everyone is not going to be made known this covenant. Everyone is not going to be loyal, in other words. Everyone is not going to be honest and, with their feelings. Everyone is not going to be like that. So righteousness is making a covenant known to those who fear righteousness. Okay. others are not going to know that. Some people are not. They're going to be mistresses or girlfriends when there's a wife. You know what I mean? And they want to be in that place. They want the man to leave his wife and come to them. They're not looking at the covenant, the 10th commandment, that you do not lead people astray from their relationships. They're not looking at that, right? They're about themselves, about their flesh, about, themselves, basically. That's what they're about, themselves. Selfish. So, and people want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want their cake. They don't want to, some people are like that. So that's why Psalm 25, verse 14 to 15 is our verse today, because the Lord confides in those who fear him. And who is the Lord? Remember, I said righteousness. So righteousness confides in those who fear righteousness. You're going to be told inside of you, oh, you know what? Do the right thing. Stay away from that person. Don't go, don't get entangled up. So where do your eyes have to be? That's what this verse of the day, 14 to 15, is talking about. Psalm 25. My eyes are ever on righteousness. It's ever on the Lord. It's ever on doing the right thing. That's where my eyes are. It's not going to go astray over here to this, this person over, you know what I mean? It's not going to go astray there and looking. Your eyes are ever toward righteousness. And righteousness doesn't come showing itself. It just is. It just is. Righteousness doesn't control another person. Righteousness doesn't manipulate a person into being with them, right? Righteousness doesn't do that. And righteousness is the only thing that's going to release one's foot from a snare. Okay? And a snare is you're being caught up in a trap. Okay? It's a trap. A snare is a trap for catching birds or animals, and is typically one having a noose or wire or cord. A noose. They used to use the nooses when they hung Black people from trees, lynching them with a noose. So your feet will be released from that. Okay? People feel that they're up to their neck in bills, like there's a cord around their neck, they're up to their neck in bills. They're in a trap. They're in an abusive relationship, somebody emotionally or maybe socially abusing them and isolating them from their family, their friends, and etc. That's a snare, and only righteousness will release one's feet from that. There's nobody on the outside gonna release it. It's only that righteousness that's within that person that's from the divine, that's going to release that feet from the snare. So remember, I said that righteousness and the Most High dwells within. So once you know that, you're able to use that in your battles of good over evil, because evil is out there. It's abusive. Evil is abusive. Evil is discriminatory. And there could be evil up in the church. People call God Lord and Jesus, and they discriminate against folks. People do that. They molest children. They do this. They do, all these evil things are happening all in every place in society. Okay? So when we listen and we look at the snare, these traps, they're all around you. So where do your eyes have to be? Your eyes are ever on righteousness. That's where your eyes need to be, on the righteousness of the Most High. So I'm glad that we're at the hour now and 20 minutes, and Max Lucado's Walking with the Savior for October 17th today is talking about hardened hearts. And I just talked about that. People's hearts are hardened to do the right thing. They don't want to do the right thing. And when your heart is hardened, this is what happens, right? And this is coming from another Psalm today. Psalm 30, verse 1 to 2. No, what is that? 32. Psalm 32, verse 1 to 2. So Psalm 32 starts with happy. Happy is the person whose sins are forgiven, whose wrongs are pardoned. Happy is the person whom the Lord does not consider guilty, and in whom there is nothing false. That's Psalm 32, verse 1 to 2. So Max Lucado is commenting on this psalm, and I like to listen to other perspectives. So he says, Father, have mercy on our hardened hearts. Forgive us for being witnesses of your majesty and yet living like you did not exist. Teach us the meaning of repentance, Father. So when I was alone and lonely for my partner, I didn't go out and find somebody else. I stayed in the space of righteousness. That's where I stayed. And I asked that righteousness to cover my partner, to be there for them. And even, send them, someone when that one isn't me. It may not be me, but send them, someone. And when this happened, it actually happened. So when I listened to Psalm 32, verse 1 to 2, Max Lucado, happy is the person whose sins are forgiven, right? Whose wrongs are pardoned. And the person whom righteousness does not think of in a guilty way, and there's no lies there, right? That's a happy person. But when a person isn't happy, they're lying to themselves. Something is not true. So when that person now seeks for that righteousness within, that righteousness is going to free them. They're not going to be guilty. They're going to be free. You're free. And you're free with truth and right. So there's nothing false. And Max Lucado's comment, oh wait, I'm in November. Wait a minute, everyone. That was November 17th. I'm still sleeping. October 17th is today. I'm in November 17th. October 17th is extend your forgiveness. I need that. Extend your forgiveness. And it's coming from another Psalm, Psalm 130, verse 3 to 4. Lord, when you punish people for all their sins, no one would be left. However, you forgave, so you are respected. Wow. So the forgiveness that we have been given, don't you think we are to respect that? Yeah, we are to respect that. So Max Lucado comment for this one, October 17th. I was reading it on November. So Max Lucado's comment is extend your forgiveness. When you have been forgiven by God, then there is room for you to forgive another human being. So the husband who cheated on his wife, the wife has to be forgiving, right? Because God forgave the wife. So extending your forgiveness, when you have been forgiven by God, then there is room for you to forgive another human being, right? When God has forgiven you, then there is a wellspring of mercy from where you can draw and give to someone else. So no one has offended you more than you have already offended God. So when people offend you, they're not offending you, they're offending the Most High. So when that person called and left that vicious voicemail, that's not offending me. They're offending God. So we're getting some weather up in this area. I believe there's some weather coming up. So extending your forgiveness. When you have been forgiven by God, then there is room for you to forgive another human being. I forgive the vicious voicemail. I forgive that. Because when God has forgiven me, then there is a wellspring of mercy from which I can now draw and give to someone else in forgiveness. No one has offended me more than one vicious voicemail have already offended God. So let me read that again. No one has offended me more than the vicious voicemail have already offended God. So the vicious voicemail has offended me no more than the vicious voicemail has already offended God. Meaning that there is no offense taken by me from a vicious voicemail more than it has already been taken by God. So, in other words, you don't have to answer to me. You have to answer to God for the things that you do here on this earth. You will have to pay for them before you leave. And that's why I say, be kind. Be kind. Be kind no matter what, because you don't know what somebody may be going through. And then when you attack and put them on the firing squad, you are offending God. So, extending your forgiveness. This is our psalm today. This is our Lucado's comment today. And for October 17th, we have the authority of the Son of Man. So we don't assume authority over each other. I'm not going to assume authority over you. That's abuse. You're not going to assume authority over me. That's abuse. So when people talk about 2 Timothy, about a woman not supposed to assume authority over a man, guess what? A man is not supposed to assume authority over a woman likewise. So we have to really remember that we are to be respectful of everyone and respectful of that is to be respected, right? According to Psalm 130, righteousness is to be respected because of the forgiveness that we have been granted. Because, punishing folks for all their sins, let me say you, no one will be left. No one will be left, according to Psalm 130. When the Lord punishes all their sins, I won't be left. I've fallen short of the glory. So this is very poignant because it's like no one would be left when the punishment of people have to be given out. No one's going to be left. However, when you forgive, righteousness has forgiven, and righteousness is to be respected. Thank you for liking this video, by the way. So righteousness is respected. That's powerful. Respect the righteousness, right? Righteousness respects. I like that for another t-shirt. Righteousness respects. Righteousness respects. So righteousness respects is another name for the t-shirt design. Righteousness. Yeah. Righteousness respects. So I'm short words to put on, righteousness respects. And then respect righteousness. That will be underneath it. So righteousness respects, and then respect righteousness. So we have an advocate, in other words, we have an advocate, and we are to embrace the forgiveness of others. Remember, I said that the Most High is another name for the Most High is forgiveness. And that's what this Psalm 130 is about, forgiveness. And when we look at October 17th, today, we're in the book of Luke, chapter 3. And Luke is talking about the childhood of Jesus, preparation and practice. So for today, we're looking at the authority of the Son of Man, chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6. Preparation, John preaching, the baptism, all that is preparation. The temptation, that's going to happen, preparation. And then practice, healing and teaching. So these are the things that are the actions of putting it into practice. So it's like you're practicing what you preach. You are preparing to practice. Does that make sense? You're preparing to practice. So wherever you are in your life right now, you're preparing to practice something in the days ahead that you're going to, be doing. And in the book of Luke, chapter 3, we see this genealogy outlined here, and the testing of Jesus in the wilderness. Jesus is rejected at Nazareth. Okay, they rejected him. Because he wanted to set the oppressed free. He heals many. He drives out an impure spirit. So there are spirits that are impure That's why we call it the Holy Spirit, because that spirit is holy. That spirit is righteousness. That Holy Spirit is. But there are some impure spirits, and Jesus drove them out. He heals many. Jesus calls his first disciples. He heals a man with leprosy. He forgives and heals a paralyzed man. He calls Levi and eats with sinners. He questioned about fasting. He is the Lord of the Sabbath. 12 apostles, blessings and woes. So when we look at October 17th, apply yourself fully to the scriptures and the scriptures fully to yourself. I like that. So apply yourself fully to the scriptures and the scriptures fully to yourself. Beautiful. I love that. So this has been Chant Day. We are out of time because it is 1 hour and 37 minutes. But this is food. This is good food for our body, for our mind, for our life. So thank you for tuning in to Chant Day. I love the fact that people can tune in and hang out with me for an hour and 37 minutes. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Thanks so much for liking this video. It is 6:30 a.m. I started early so I could get an early start. I'm going to roll myself into the blanket again and take a little nap for a little bit. But I want you all to have a blessed day and to remember, stand in love. Have a blessed day. Take good care.